What's up, Cowboys Nation, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video covers a truly explosive topic that stirred the pot across NFL circles, and especially in Dallas. There's been a wave of confusion, speculation, and downright misinformation circulating through media outlets, fan forums, and social platforms regarding the coaching staff overhaul happening within the Dallas Cowboys organization. And today, we're diving into one of the most misunderstood headlines of the offseason: BRE, aka Nick Sorensen, hired as next Cowboys defensive coordinator. On the surface, it sounds like a monumental shift. Nick Sorensen, who's had experience across the NFL landscape, both as a player and coach, being handed the reins of the Cowboys' defensive unit. That's a big deal, if true. But the truth, as always, lies beyond the headlines. What really happened here is a case study in how quickly narratives form and spread, especially in a league where every move by America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, is magnified tenfold. Sorensen was officially hired by the Cowboys. Yes, that much is true. But he was not brought in as the defensive coordinator. Instead, his new title is Special Teams Coordinator, a role that, while crucial to the team's overall success, is vastly different from leading the defense. The confusion arose mainly from the fact that Sorensen has a strong defensive background. He served last season as the defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, a position that came with a lot of attention due to the 49ers Super Bowl contending season. Before that, he was known for his work with the defensive backfield and special teams units across several NFL teams, including the Seahawks and Jaguars. He has a reputation as a gritty, intelligent football mind with a versatile coaching arsenal. This is probably where fans and even some media voices started connecting the dots a bit too quickly. With Dan Quinn leaving the Cowboys to take the head coaching job in Washington and the DC role suddenly vacant in Dallas, people naturally began looking around at potential replacements. When the Cowboys announced Sorensen was joining the staff, it was easy for someone to make a leap, especially if they didn't read the fine print, and report that Sorensen was coming in as the new defensive coordinator. That incorrect headline spread quickly and created a storm of confusion. Fans started debating whether Sorensen was the right fit to replace Quinn, what his defensive philosophies might look like, how he'd mesh with the current roster, and what changes he'd make. But all that conversation, while interesting, was based on a false premise. Sorensen is not the DC. He's overseeing special teams. The actual hire for defensive coordinator, which flew under the radar due to the headline noise, was Matt Eberflus. Now, that's a name Cowboys fans should remember, as he has deep ties to the organization and is known for a fundamentally sound, high-motor defensive philosophy. But back to Sorensen, why does this even matter? Well, because his hiring is still significant. The Cowboys' special teams unit has quietly been one of the more solid parts of their roster over the past few seasons under former coordinator John Fassel, and replacing a coach of his caliber was always going to be challenging. Sorensen brings a unique blend of defensive knowledge and special teams experience, which could give Dallas a strategic edge in that third phase of the game that often goes overlooked until it costs you field position, or worse, a game. Think back to the most successful NFL teams in recent memory. The margins of victory often come down to special teams execution, whether it's making clutch field goals, flipping field position with a well-placed punt, or shutting down an elite returner. Sorensen, with his eye for detail and history of coaching fundamentally sound football, has the potential to continue and possibly elevate that legacy. From a narrative perspective, it's also fascinating to see someone go from being a defensive coordinator one year to a special teams coordinator the next. It's not a typical career move. Some might view it as a demotion or as a stopgap, while Sorensen waits for another opportunity on the defensive side. Others might see it as a strategic decision, Perhaps Sorensen sees this as an opportunity to continue refining his craft in a new environment, with a franchise that has one of the biggest platforms in all of sports. Coaching is a long game, and sometimes taking a role outside your usual lane can position you for even greater opportunities down the line. And who's to say that if Eberflus doesn't work out as defensive coordinator in the long term, Sorensen couldn't be a candidate to step into that role later. It wouldn't be unprecedented for a special teams coach to be promoted into a coordinator position. Think about guys like John Harbaugh, who started as a special teams coordinator and eventually became one of the most respected head coaches in the NFL. For now, though, Sorensen's focus will be on optimizing a unit that includes some elite specialists: kicker Brandon Aubrey, who's coming off a near-perfect rookie season, punter Brian Anger, one of the best in the business, and return man Kayvontae Turpin, whose explosiveness can shift momentum in a heartbeat. Sorensen will be expected to maintain, if not improve, the performance of this group, and that's no small task in a league where special teams errors can swing playoff races. For Cowboys fans, this whole story serves as a reminder of how quickly misinformation can spread and how important it is to look beyond the first headline. The truth is often less sensational, but far more insightful. The Sorensen hire is not about him coming in to redesign the defense. It's about continuity, leadership, and perhaps even a bit of strategic depth. Having someone on the staff with defensive coordinator experience running the special teams unit could bring new wrinkles and hidden advantages, especially when it comes to identifying tendencies, weaknesses, and ways to exploit opposing units. There's a level of situational awareness that Sorensen brings, which could allow Dallas to gain edges in the margins edges that become massive in January. Beyond the X's and O's, there's also the matter of culture. The Cowboys are in a bit of a transitional period. Expectations are sky high every year, but postseason results haven't matched the talent level on paper. A staff shakeup, particularly on the heels of Dan Quinn's departure and lingering questions around head coach Mike McCarthy's future, means that every hire carries weight. Sorensen, while not the headline-grabbing choice for DC, some fans imagined, is still a key part of that puzzle. His relationship with offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer, who worked with him previously in Seattle and Jacksonville, could also be an asset. Staff chemistry matters. When coaches know how to communicate and understand each other's systems, it translates into a more unified team. That's something Dallas is going to need if they want to finally break through in the NFC and reach a Super Bowl for the first time since the 90s. And while Sorensen may not be calling defensive plays, his presence in meetings, his voice in game planning, and his leadership on the sideline will absolutely be felt. This is a coach who's paid his dues, who understands the game from multiple angles, and who could quietly become one of the most important pieces of the Cowboys' 2025 coaching staff. So if you're a fan who initially got excited, or maybe even concerned about Sorensen being named defensive coordinator, the truth might feel like a letdown. But don't underestimate the impact a smart, experienced coach can make, even outside the spotlight. Special teams might not sell jerseys, but they win football games. And in Dallas, where the pressure cooker is always on, every inch counts. If Sorensen can maximize his unit's performance and help flip field position, secure points, and limit opponent opportunities, he'll have earned his spot and maybe, just maybe, started carving out a path to an even bigger role down the line. In the end, it's about performance. Titles are just words unless you can back them up with results. So, here's the real takeaway. Nick Sorensen is not the Cowboys' new defensive coordinator. That's Matt Eberflus. But Sorensen is still a vital addition to the 2025 Dallas Cowboys coaching staff. He brings a wealth of experience, a sharp football mind, and a versatile skill set to a team that needs all three. As fans, let's watch closely not just what the headlines say, but what actually unfolds on the field. Because in the NFL, the truth isn't in the rumor, it's in the results.